Good morning, everyone. One of the most heartwarming videos that I'm sure you've all seen in various forms is when a parent comes back from the service and they surprise their child, and the kid goes ecstatic to see their father, and many of these, or mother, and many of these stories happen in schools. So someone showed me a video the other day of a mother who came back from being deployed overseas, I guess, in the U.S. Army. And what she did was she came into the lunchroom during school, and she was wearing like a bunny rabbit costume, full gear, and she sat down at the table where her son was sitting, and she sat across and started kibitzing with the kids. And then, in midway, she takes off her headpiece, and the kid's looking right at his mother, maybe didn't see his mother for a couple of years, and the kid starts screaming, "Mommy!" And the kid jumps out of his seat and runs at the fastest, pace around the table, give his mother this big hug and kiss. And I was thinking, Passover, one of the key components is speed. B'chipazon, we left Egypt with such speed, we didn't even have time to bake the matzah. And until this day, we reenact the eating of matzah because it highlights one of the important elements of the holiday, which is speed. And why is this such an important element? Because imagine if this kid saw his mother and got up and nonchalantly, slowly walked around the table. The mother would be crushed. The fact that the kid ran showed his love for his mother. We were in slavery for hundreds of years. Hashem comes to redeem us, and we go running towards him with such haste, with such speed. That shows our love for Hashem, and therefore eating matzah and baking it with less than 18 minutes, like the Jews who didn't have time, because you say they were there 210 years, they could have stayed another hour or two to bake bread. But no, they didn't want to waste a second. They wanted to run into Hashem's arms like a child who runs into his parents' arms, having not been separated from his parent for so long. But I think there's another very important element of the speed that relates to the message of freedom. Many times when people are in a situation of servitude of one form or another, it could be addictions, it could be other kinds of abuse, they become complacent and accepting and tolerant of their circumstance. And even when the door is open and they can go free, they're not looking to go free anymore. They've sort of made peace with their circumstances. The fact that a person takes the first opportunity to run out of their circumstance, that shows that they are maybe physically imprisoned, but internally they're still free. They still yearn to go out. And when the opportunity is presented, they run to seize the moment. They have not become emotionally enslaved and mentally enslaved. They've still maintained their inner freedom. And that's why the idea of speed shows the power of the Jewish people. Even after hundreds of years of slavery, they were still yearning and craving for freedom. They had not become tolerant and accepting of their abuse and their tormentors. And they recognized that until they go free and leave Egypt, they cannot be themselves and truly express themselves. And that's what's unique about the night of Passover. The night of Passover, everyone thinks it's about the past, remembering the past. It's not only about the past, it's about the future. It's about telling your children and your grandchildren. It's about Loshana Haba B'Yerushalayim. It's about not accepting the status quo. It's very easy in Egypt to say, okay, this is life. There's tragedies, there's sadness, there's misery in the world, there's suffering, there's war, there's illness. This is the way it is. And at the night of Seder, we say, no, like the Jews in Egypt, we don't want this status quo. We want Loshana Haba B'Yerushalayim. We are yearning for something better. Yeah, life could be good. We live in Palm Beach. Everything's wonderful. But it's not wonderful. We expect better from Hashem. We expect a better world. We expect Mashiach. And that's why today is the 11th day of Nisan, is the birthday of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Lubavitcher Rebbe was a person who, after the Holocaust, as Rabbi Jonathan Sachs said, as Hitler Yamach Shemo hunted down every Jew with hatred, the Rebbe searched out every Jew with love. The Rebbe said we must flee the experience of the Holocaust, never forget it. We must remember it like the Exodus from Egypt. But now we must go towards redemption. We must rebuild. And the Rebbe constantly talked about Mashiach and said, don't be complacent. Yeah, we're not in the gas chambers. We're not in Bergen-Belsen. Doesn't mean we should be happy in America. We have to yearn for redemption. The world has to come to its culmination, to its perfection. And if you stop yearning for that, that means you've made peace with slavery, with suffering, with the world as it is. And we should never be happy. We should never be complacent. So the night of Pesach teaches us that we can always yearn for more, always look to the future. No matter what happened in the past, that doesn't define us. We could always go forward. And I'll just tell you a story. There was a Mezritch Magad, his name was Rabbi Ber of Mezritch. He was a student of the Baal Shem Tov. The story, when he was a little kid, he became a great Hasidic master, but when he was a little kid, 6 years old, he once came home and he saw his house was on fire. We just saw a big fire yesterday, right? And he saw his house was burning down. And his mother was outside the house weeping. This little boy, he tried to console his mother. He said, "Mommy, don't worry, everything will be okay." His mother's still weeping. He says, "Mommy, don't worry, Hashem will get us a new home." His mother says to her little boy, "Dover, I'm not crying about the house. That I could replace. The reason I'm crying is because inside the house, we had our family ancestral tree, which shows our lineage of our family all the way back to King David. And now it's being burnt, and I could never replicate that family tree of all of our ancestors going back to King David. And that's the reason I'm crying." And little 6-year-old Dover looked at his mother and said, "Mommy, don't worry. I'll start a new family tree with me." And that's the idea of, yes, we look back, but freedom is looking forward. No matter what happened, no matter what fires we escaped, we could always look to the future. And that's what the Rabbi did. The Rabbi said, we survived the fires of the Holocaust, but now we're going to go towards redemption. We're going to rebuild the Jewish people and bring the world to its final state of Geula, of Mashiach.